I'm sorry, everything is going so slow. Okay. Okay. Okay, we can start this meeting. I'm sorry, it's 10:15. And Ivan, I don't know if you have a second, but will you check to make sure it's working on YouTube? I think it was, but the first thing we'd like to do is there any disclosure of interest?
Nope.
Do you want to raise your hand if there's anything? Councillor Olmsted? No? Okay, so we'll go to the next 3.1. We have to appoint a chair and a vice chair. So, or Ivan, do you want to do your little talk first? You do it first, so we can understand, and then I'll discuss what the purpose of a chair is, and then we can nominate a chair.
Yeah, thanks. Can you hear me clearly? Because I'm just talking through my iPad that's with Councillor Mackay here. But you can hear me. That's good. All right. So just as a note here, so the Committee of Adjustment, this is a new committee that has been formed by Council at its meeting in September. So the committee is formed by 3 members of Councillor Mackay, Councillor Olmsted, and Councillor McLaughlin. So the Committee of Adjustment will review development applications consisting, among others, of variances to the recreational vehicle bylaw, minor variance applications, and severance applications. So these applications formerly went to Council, but now they will be going to the Committee of Adjustment. A few key points here is that this meeting with the committee is in fact available to be attended by the public. It is open to the public. However, it's not a formal public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act for our severance applications. For severance applications, the formal public meeting is held currently with the County of Renfrew. So if the members of the Committee of Adjustment here today wish for the public to speak on applications for severances and the recreational vehicle variances, they will have to, the committee members will have to request for the public to speak. Otherwise, for the minor variance applications, there are 3 today, all forming part of one report. This is, in fact, the formal public meeting. Bit of confusion there, but we'll reiterate that to the members of the committee as we progress through the agenda. So maybe I'll leave it to you, Carmen, to proceed with the item 3.1. Thanks.
Okay, yes, so the first thing I'd like to do is just note that we do, okay, so 3.1 on the agenda is appoint a chair and a vice chair. The responsibilities for the chair and for the vice chair when the chair is not available is to undertake the township's procedural bylaw, facilitate the meeting by identifying the order and proceedings and speakers accordingly to the published agenda, maintain decorum, and to ensure fairness and accountability, and generally refrain from participation in the discussion until all members have had the opportunity to speak on the matter, and make sure that they represent the views of the committee, not their personal views. So in order to ensure the meeting is done fairly and in order, we need to nominate, or you can nominate yourself. We need a chair and a vice chair. So do I have any nominations for chair?
I would take it if nobody else wants.
Okay. Are we all in support of that? Do we have a second? Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So congratulations, Councillor McLaughlin. You are chair. And now we need somebody to nominate vice chair.
I'm going to nominate Chris Olmsted.
Can I get a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay. Congratulations, Councillor Olmsted. You are vice chair.
How does that happen? There's only one guy to nominate.
Uh,
You were-
Chris, you should have had a chance to decline.
You
Well, I was trying to nominate Dave, but I couldn't get unmuted quick enough.
wanted to accept the position of vice chair?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, congratulations. So then I can leave it in Councillor McLaughlin's hands. We can start with 3.2 if you want to start chairing the meeting.
Can I just ask a question, Carm?
Yeah.
So is the chair and vice chair, is that for this meeting or is that ongoing for the committee of adjustment?
It will be forever, like not forever, but it will be for the next few meetings until the new year. I think we'll appoint new ones.
Great, thank you.
So Councillor McLaughlin, do you want to start with 3.2, the recreation vehicle variance? Do you want to read the recommendation?
If you would read the recommendation, and I would go from there, Carmen.
Okay. So the recommendation is that the Committee of Adjustment refuse the recreation vehicle license submitted for the property described as Part Lot 1, Concession EFB, Registered Plan 49R2176, Part 1, Westmeath, because the request does not meet the intent and purpose of the recreational vehicle bylaw. And then we just need a mover and a second.
Can I get a mover and a seconder?
Councillor Olmsted, and I guess Councillor,
Councillor Mackay, would you second that? Yep.
okay.
Then we're going to turn it over to Ivan.
Ivan can speak on it, but do you want me to, Ivan? Or are you gonna?
You just go right ahead.
Okay. So we received a application for a trailer on a lot in La Paz. The recreation license bylaw states that the township may authorize variances from the bylaw if in the opinion of the township, the general intent and purpose of the bylaw are maintained. In this case, the owner is seeking approval to have a recreational vehicle in the hamlet of La Paz. The recreation vehicle will connect to water to the existing cottage, and the septic will be emptied in at the same address. The property currently has a civic address. It's owned residential 1, and it's located in La Paz. Okay, sorry. So one of the licensing bylaw intent is to provide alternatives to the use of waterfront properties located within the floodplain. The proposal is to install a recreation vehicle in La Paz, and it does not meet the general intent of the bylaw, as it's not compatible with suburban waterfront properties in the hamlet as donated in the zoning category. The purpose is not desirable for the appropriate development because it may delay development of concerned parcels for its intended purpose, being a permanent dwelling. I don't know if any questions or if Ivan wants to add a bit more. I'm not much good at public speaking, so I apologize for that.
Yeah, maybe what I'll just note is through the passing of the licensing bylaw for these recreational vehicles, the intent was to allow these types of uses generally in the rural area, not so much in our villages and hamlets. So the proposal here is to put this RV within the hamlet of La Paz. So that is the main component here is we as staff feel that we should not be permitting RVs in hamlets and villages just because they are just generally not compatible with other residential uses. So our recommendation is that you don't, we recommend that you refuse the application on the basis that it doesn't meet the intent of the bylaw and is not compatible with support with adjacent uses. So that is it for me. Thanks.
Comments?
Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, thanks, Ivan. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
So Ivan, so for these intended uses, are most of the designations rural versus, I don't know what is the in towns. I'm just thinking of ways and maybe we can make it very clear to somebody applying that although it's in a hamlet, it's not zoned properly. So I can't remember the exact terms of the bylaw that we had created, but perhaps maybe adding some wording that the recreation bylaw only permits to rural dwellings or zoned rural dwellings, or however you want to.
Yeah, so I think the bylaw is quite specific as it stands now. It allows them in the current, like, rural zones and waterfront vicinity zones. So in this case, it's a residential one. It's like an urban zoning category. And I think when we were discussing this with the applicant, that was mentioned to him, is that, this is our first proposal in one of our hamlets, and the bylaw is not intended to allow these types of uses in our hamlets. So he's well aware, the applicant's well aware of the constraints, and that's why he's applied for the variance, just trying his luck, I guess, to see if the committee will approve it. But I think the bylaw as it stands is quite clear and concise, and and we expressed that to the applicant. I think his is just he's attempting to get the variance, and I think staff can't support an application of this nature. Thanks.
I'm very happy with the wording that says rural or waterfront. Then I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Could I would just have to agree with what Councillor Olmsted has said. He's taken most of my thoughts exactly. So I think we would turn it down, and that would be the reason. But anyway, we'll, if there are any other questions.
Councillor Mackay.
Yeah, I was thinking that, if you do this on, say it is rural, but they're adding it to the septic system, are the septic systems going to be, they're set up for 3 or 4 people, and then you have a trailer. I'm just wondering about, not on this application, but on other ones, will that be a problem for us?
Maybe if you want, I could just speak to that, is that Doug Schultz, our chief building official, does review these applications. So when in future cases, when people are proposing to add a trailer to an existing septic system, then Doug would review that and make sure that the septic system is large enough to accommodate that additional use.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ivan. Any other comments? If not, then I would call for a vote. All in favor of rejecting this application?
Okay.
Did you get a count, Carmen?
Yeah, oh, sorry, it's carried. Yeah.
Okay, then we'll move on to the next item.
Yeah. So that's for
Aqua Bay Road. Aqua Bay.
Laquabe Road. The recommendation is that the Committee of Adjustment approve the recreational vehicle variance submitted for the property described as EFC, Part Lot 17, Westmeath.
Mover and seconder.
Councillor Mackay and obviously Councillor. Okay, Councillor Mackay and Councillor Olmsted.
Okay, Carmen, do you want to go ahead then?
Yeah. So in this case, we have an application for a trailer for use for sleeping at 848 Laquabe Road. The trailer septic is a holding tank on the recreational vehicle. The electricity is ran from the existing cottage. And the applicant noted that the trailer is only used for sleeping. They use the kitchen and the washrooms at the cottage. The applicant also noted that they only use the trailer from July to October. So she did note that it is being moved off the property shortly. One of the variances so that they can put the trailer setback from 20 meters from the water, and that they enter into a development agreement because they are in the floodplain. I do have, she has already entered into she's signed the development agreement and paid for it prior to the approvals, but we haven't approved it yet until we get this variance through. The property is zoned waterfront residential or waterfront vicinity. And in this zoning, or sorry, the recreational vehicle bylaw only permits vehicles on vacant properties unless they get a variance. And well, I don't know, Ivan, do you want to speak more on your recommendation?
Well, I think generally the purpose is to allow for these types of vehicles on waterfront properties and rural zone properties. In this case, is an existing cottage. So when we examine the location of the proposed trailer, the property is pretty well treed. So there are a significant amount of trees on the property, and more particularly between the trailer and the adjacent property. So there'll be sufficient buffering on the one side where that 3 meters is noted. Yeah, so I think this is an appropriate use for this property. As noted, the primary washroom is used in the existing cottage and the tank in the recreational vehicle. So again, no additional impacts to the sewage. And then yeah, so that's, I think staff are supportive of this, and this is similar to other applications we've approved in the past. Thanks.
Okay, any comments from councillors?
Nope, seeing none.
Okay, if we're seeing none, then I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Carried.
Okay, we'll move on then.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Consent application B 5819, Morgan Jameson, that the Committee of Adjustment recommend refusal of consent B 5819 to permit a lot creation because the application does not conform with the minimum distance separation, the MDS requirement established by the PPS, the official plan, and the zoning bylaw.
Mover and the seconder.
Councillor Mackay. Councillor Olmsted.
Okay, I don't know, Carmen, if you want to speak on it, or do we turn this over to Ivan?
Please.
I could go ahead. Thank you so much. It's not too often that staff recommend refusals of applications, but oddly enough, the new Committee of Adjustment has 2 of them on the agenda today. But basically, this application was submitted by Michael Conroy. He's a lawyer out of Pembroke on behalf of Morgan Jameson. He owns the property at 2220 Snake River Line. You can go ahead right to the map if you wish, Carmen. He's proposing to create a lot that is of 0.74 acres. So already that is a concern. The severed parcel is not the minimum 1 acre size pursuant to the zoning bylaw and the official plan. So that is one concern. The retained land currently has a dwelling, a garage, and other accessory buildings. The second concern here is the adjacent barns on the property, or on the barns or livestock facilities on adjacent properties. So the provincial policy statement, which is the planning policy document from the province, the official plan of the county of Renfrew, and even our zoning bylaw all speak to the minimum distance separation. Minimum MDS or minimum distance separation is used to calculate minimum setbacks between livestock facilities or barns and proposed development. That could be a new lot, that could be a proposed dwelling, or even in the opposite case where somebody's proposing a new barn. So we calculate minimum distance separation to determine compatibility between uses and to minimize the conflicts between the uses. So if you scroll down to attachment number 2, please, Carmen, you'll note that the applicant has submitted MDS forms from the adjacent barns. You'll notice 2 barns marked in yellow at 2252 Snake River Line and another one at 239 Mountain Road. These are two barns. There are others in proximity, but they don't apply to this. There's no concern with their MDS. You'll note the dotted lines around these barns, and what these dotted lines are the minimum setback for a new dwelling based on the livestock in these barns. And the number of livestock was provided to us by their owners of 2252's J Rollins and then G Rollins on the other lot. So you'll notice the severed parcel B50, it's noted as B5819, is in red, and you'll note that the buffer, the minimum setback, overlaps the entirety of this parcel in both, well, entirely with one case and then almost entirely with the other. So that ultimately means that it does not meet the minimum distance separation. So what could happen here is if the application does get approved and somebody builds a house there, it will impact the future developability or expansion of those barns. And what the province and the county, and I think locally here as well, we're here to support local farmers and their livestock facilities. And I think that's just generally the nature of development in our community as well as throughout Ontario. So on the basis that this application does not meet MDS, so typically what happens with these applications is you pre-consult with the local municipality or the county before you apply. We do this calculation before you apply, and then that way you know if it meets MDS or not before you apply. In this case, the application was filed before pre-consultation, so the MDS was not calculated, and now we're in a situation where we have to recommend refusal. So with that being said, staff again, we don't approve these severance applications. This will all get funneled back up to the County of Renfrew for final decision, but we are recommending that the committee recommend refusal of this application because it does not meet MDS requirements. Thank you very much.
Any comments from council? Councillor Mackay.
Okay.
I just think that this is a good thing. We do not need, it's overlapping by two buildings. And it's too small. It's just easy decision to make. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Councillor Olmsted.
Yeah, in full disclosure here, I know this gentleman trying to build here, and I've been trying to help him along and forward Ivan's contact to him and whatnot, so he could look into the possibilities of this property. So now that I'm seeing the report, I find it really, really difficult for this guy to go ahead with it. It's not impacting. The MDS isn't impacting one property; it's impacting on two properties, two farms. The lot size under an acre, so it's just there's so many strikes against it, and then seeing the studies that he's going to have to go through, I don't even think he would understand what he's going to have to go through to try to make this thing work out. So I appreciate the report, and I appreciate Ivan's comments on it. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other comments,
Me-
then I will.
Maybe I could just, maybe, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off,
Nope.
Chair McLaughlin. I will note that in my discussions with the county that this file will go to their planning division committee. So when there are contentious files or applications recommended for refusal, they will go to the committee. So the applicant will be provided an opportunity to voice his opinion or comments to the application with the county prior to final decision. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Ivan. If there's no further comments, then I will ask for a vote. All in favor of refusing this application?
Carried.
Carried, Cameron?
Yeah, sorry, carried.
Okay, we'll move on then.
Okay. Okay, so we're on to 3.5, consent application B37 and 20 and B4620, Robertson. that the Committee of Adjustment support consent files B 3720 and B 4620 to allow residential lot additions and illegal right-of-way access subject to the following conditions. That the owner provide the township with 2 original copies of a registered reference plan for each consent application. That the owner obtains an amendment to zoning bylaw 9813 to modify the zoning category of an enlarged parcel of consent file B 3720 from TCE1 zone to WV zone, and that the owner enters into a development agreement to satisfy requirements relating to the private road, that the development agreement be registered against the surveyed and retained, registered against the severed and retained parcels.
Okay, mover and a seconder.
Councillor
Quick,
McCott,
guys.
Councillor Olmsted. And then Tyven.
Thank you so much. So this is considering two different severance applications. I will note that Catherine Curry, who you'll see is in attendance in this meeting. She is the applicant through JP2G Consultants on behalf of Gillen Robertson. So essentially the application is intended to enlarge, one of the applications is intended to enlarge an existing undersized property. If you scroll right down to the map, it'll help us out here, Carmen, thanks. So one application is to increase an undersized lot. You'll note that on this key map, the enlarged parcel, it's a property that is currently held by Ottawa River Whitewater Rafting. So it is currently in a tourist commercial exception 1 zone to allow as a commercial put-in for a rafting company. So the purpose here is to enlarge that parcel similar to the properties just adjacent to the south of it, in order to redevelop this property into a residential property. So ultimately, we're going to see a new in the near future or long future, we're going to see a new home being built here. You'll note that put-in trail kind of connects to the enlarged parcel right at the middle. So the intent here is to also, with consent file B46, is to create a right-of-way in favor of this new parcel over the private road known as John Park Trail North. So file 37 is to enlarge the parcel, and 46 is to provide it a new right-of-way through the private road known as John Park Trail North. So staff are supportive of this application, subject to a zoning amendment to remove that tourist commercial designation and allow for residential uses, and as well as a development agreement to outline the specifications related to that private road, the new private road extending to this lot. So staff are supportive, and if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Thanks.
Any questions from council? Councillor McCaw.
Yeah, will this still be, this won't be a put-in anymore. This is just going to be a commercial or residential lots.
That's correct. So it was noted in the application form that it would be used for residential purposes. So therefore, when the zoning amendment changes, we're going to remove the put-in commercial use, and then it'll be reverted back to residential only.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments?
No,
Seeing it?
No.
None, Carmen?
no,
Okay, then I would ask for a vote. All in favor?
we're good. I'll
And
carry.
I see Carmen nodding, motion's carried.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll move on.
So the last item is minor variance application D13108 to D13110 BEI. That Committee of Adjustment approved the 3 minor variances, files D13108, D13109, and D13110 submitted by Matt Naismith for BEI for the properties described as part of Lot 6, Ross, Concession 1, west of Muskrat Lake. Oh, sorry, I think Chris probably.
Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna, these are I thought this was properties that haven't been built on. When I first looked at it, I realized these are the units that they currently have standing. These are the ones they've already built, right, Ivan?
That's
Yeah, sorry,
correct.
I
Yeah,
wanna-
these are the three semis on Astrolabe Road, yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to declare pecuniary interest on this one. I thought this was a separate severances that we're going for. So I'm going to declare pecuniary interest on this. So do you want
Okay.
me, how do we operate now? Do I have to leave the meeting?
Carmen, you're muted.
I think you're muted. That would be fine.
I am, yeah, this is the last item, so I don't know if you just want to,
Sign off?
yeah.
Okay,
See you later, Chris.
okay. See you tonight, guys. Thank you.
Right. Now, Carmen, I have a question. Can I move something?
Yeah. I don't know what's
I
your,
don't know the procedural bylaw on that, the procedure, but,
so what do
because
you,
we only have,
we only,
we only have Councillor McCarthy.
yeah, so, we actually have, Mayor Moore on standby, so if he's available, I'll just pop him on so he could deal with the third item.
That would work.
Here he is. Okay, we're good to go.
Okay, then I'm looking for a mover and a seconder.
Counselor Mackay and Moore.
Yeah, Mayor. Okay, and then I don't know whether we want to turn this over to Ivan?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see
Yeah,
Carmen nodding.
Thank you very
Ivan,
much.
you can go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. All right, so this is primarily can be viewed as a sort of a formality to correct an issue that was had following a zoning amendment that was made for these three parcels on Astrolabe Road. So if you scroll down to the paragraph, the third paragraph under background, so the application is intended to reduce the minimum lot area from 795 to 399 square meters and reduce the side yard on the common wall from 2.5 meters to 0 meters for semi-detaches each on a separate lot. So when they applied for the zoning amendment to allow for semi-detaches on these three parcels, they reduced the minimum lot area and the minimum side yard setback. But now they've applied for severances to split these three parcels into six. So split the parcels along the shared wall of each of the semis, the middle wall. The county have identified that they had a concern with the fact that there were no provisions for the minimum lot areas for each of the separate parcels, and that the common wall, the setback would be 0. So naturally, when you put a line along a common wall, the setback is 0. So this is really a formality to correct the zoning that was, I guess, if you will, was an oversight at the time of the original application for zoning amendment. So the use is not changing, the semis are built, and this will ultimately fulfill one of the conditions of the severance. So the conditions from the county. So staff are supportive of this, and we look for the committee for some direction. Thank you very much.
Okay, do we have any comments from council?
Mayor Moore?
Whenever these were developed in the first place, they got a building permit, so we essentially said everything was approved. Am I right on that, Ivan?
Well, yes, everything is fine as it stands now. Everything meets the bylaw. But as soon as you create a new line along that common wall, which they haven't yet, we have the applications on hand. As soon as you create that new property line for the six lots, then it becomes an issue. So everything they've applied for, everything we've issued permits for, everything is good. Everything meets the bylaws, except the new series of severance applications to create these new property lines is causing an issue that it will no longer comply with the bylaw, and therefore they're applying for this variance to correct that. Is that clear?
Yes. How does this stem for the future then? If they go to do this again somewhere on that property, will they adjust their settings then?
Well, in fact, another example of this is council reviewed a zoning amendment for Bromley Street, and that was submitted by BEI at their last council meeting. It was a zoning bylaw amendment. And in that case, we ensured that there were provisions for when they sever that semi into two pieces. So there, we modified it, correct? We didn't miss, if you will, the components that were missed in this application. So we're cognizant of the issue in this one, and it's going to be corrected. And in future cases, will and the applicant will have to ensure that they include all the provisions in their future applications. Yes.
Okay, I'm good with that. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, any other comments? If not, then I will call for a vote. All in favor?
Carried.
Carried?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Is that the end of the meeting, Carmen?
Well, so section 4 is confirmation of minutes. We don't have any minutes as this is our first meeting, so no items there. And then yes, adjournment.
Okay. Do we need a mover and a seconder?
No, I just need you to say what time we're adjourning.
Well, I have no idea.
Oh, 7,
11:07,
10:47.
10:47? Okay.
And
Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you, Chair.
You're quite welcome, sir. How did
See you
like
later.